months from today, the NBA draft will get underway. So with that in mind, I'd like to welcome in our ESPN draft analyst, Jonathan Givony. And Jonathan, this morning in our production meeting, we were kind of kicking things around, potential questions about the upcoming draft, what rookie would be best fit with Victor Wembanyama, who has the highest ceiling in the class. But then we noticed Bronny James isn't even on your mock draft. He's listed as 39th in your 2025 mock draft, so a year out. Why is that?
Malika, the fact of the matter is that Bronny James has not produced like a one-and-done player this season. He's averaging 5.5 points per game, shooting under 40% from the field for a USC team that has the worst record in the Pac-12. That's not one-and-done caliber. He's been playing hot potato with his teammates, moving the ball left and right, really has lacked assertiveness and is missing opportunities to really put himself into the game when they've had injuries and they've needed him to step up and show that he's an NBA player.
But still, I mean, you have Bronny projected to be drafted in 2025. Clearly, you see something you like in him. So tell us a little bit more about his game and what you like.
I love Bronny James's game still. We have to remember that this kid missed 4 months with a heart issue starting in July that really seemed to have derailed his season. He's one of the best defenders in this freshman class. He's phenomenal at getting over screens, mirroring one-on-one, busting up handoffs, locking up, generating turnovers. He's physical. He's competitive. He's got a great feel for the game. I think if Bronny James comes back for his sophomore season, we're going to see a completely different guy. We're going to see someone that really could be a lottery pick still.
Jonathan, thank you so very much. Such important context to keep in mind. Jonathan is going to be a regular on our show as we lead up to the 2024 draft. So, Becky, given everything that Jonathan just shared with us, if Bronny does declare for this draft in a couple of months, and that ceiling being so much higher than potentially he'd be slated to where he's slated to be drafted, do you think teams should take a flyer on him to try to draft him higher than where he's slated to go?
I wouldn't at this point. That doesn't mean he can't get there. You know, he had a very substantial thing go wrong with his heart, you know, and so you don't know the backstory and you don't know the side effects. Give him a year, because I look at that as like an injury, right? Like you're playing, but you don't feel like yourself until a good solid 12 to 14 to 16 months after that major injury. And so I'd like to see him go one more year in college, get those numbers up and make it legit. But I mean,
well, it is tough because, look, Channing Frye, he dealt with a heart condition and had to miss an entire year, not 4 months, an entire year. Jeff Green had to have heart surgery. We have seen this over the course. And this is not a matter of making an excuse for the young player. It's about this. It's hard to evaluate. That is the most important summer you might ever have. That summer between your senior year and your freshman year. You're on campus, you're working out every day, and their team's not performing. He can say, we can look at the numbers and say he's not performing. But the problem is when you look at it from that standpoint, you kind of look at it from is this the best version of him? Like even Jonathan Givony said, hey, look, one of the best defenders. We know the kid can shoot. We know about the skills and the talent that the player has. It's just, it's hard to evaluate and coming off that. And there's a lot of different things that go into that. And so I think that you would still probably take a chance on him if he went. I think you would. Somebody would still say
the
upside.
Round?
Not in the first round. Second round. You would still take a chance. You would still draft him and see if we can get him in here, get him doing the thing. Because you see that all the time in the second round. You see second round draft picks that don't even come over here for 2 years, and that because they're letting them go and be a European player and letting them work and letting them grind. So I think you see that all the time. So I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, I saw Bronny James play in person a couple of weeks ago over at USC. His athleticism is so impressive. It just seems like he needs a little bit of time. He is going to be an incredible player. It just sometimes you need a little bit of time, but time also isn't necessarily on the side of LeBron James, although he is proven time and time again not to count him out. Do you think at some point we will see them share a court, Perk?
I do, but I think Bron is going to have to be patient, and he's also going to have to sacrifice. And if that means he's going to have to extend his NBA career a little longer, then like so be it. My thing is one I want to point out is that, look, Bronny is going to be, I think he's going to make it to the NBA, and I think he's going to have a hell of a career, but he's not going to be his dad, and that's okay. Let Bronny be Bronny. Do I think he need to go back to school? Yes, I do, right? And when the time is right, let it happen naturally, right? We don't want to force anything. Let's not force it, this young man, his livelihood or his development so that he could go and pair up with LeBron or whatever narrative we trying to push or whatever we want to see, to be honest. Just let the young man breathe. And Carmelo Anthony had an interesting thing on his podcast where he talked about the relationship with his son and how he was he told his son, yes, he don't let his son get too far ahead. He stay in the moment. He's not going to tell him he's going to be this. He was like, no, you actually got to get to college first. And then we're going to worry about your freshman year of college and then your sophomore year.
Right.
And then we'll start to worry about the pros. And I think that's the steps we all need to start looking at when it comes to Bronny.
Seconds after upsetting number 8 Duke, Wake Forest students, they stormed the court. But watch here, Duke's Kyle Filipowski collided with a fan and left the floor hobbled. So there's no details yet on the severity of any possible injury, but Filipowski is a top 10 prospect on ESPN's draft board, and Jay Billis, he weighed in on the incident.
We actually discussed this a few weeks ago on College Game Day, and my thing wasn't necessarily ban court storming. It was just the idea that fans don't belong on the court, and if they wanted to stop it, they could stop it tomorrow. One time, all you have to do is once they're on the court, don't let them off. Just say you're all detained and give them all citations or arrest them if you want to. And then court stormings will stop the next day.
That's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire... Did he say detain 10,000 people? Did he say give 10,000 people citations? Me and Becky were talking before this because I asked the Hall of Famer Becky Hammon. So what do you think? She goes, if you don't make stupid rules, you don't have to enforce them. And that is silly. First of all, I get it. As an Arizona player, Duke players, typically the really good teams, I've had the court stormed on me 4 or 5 times. It's a part of it. It sucks. You don't want to see this. There has been things that have happened, but this is about college basketball. This is about college football. To say something, and I love Jay Billis, a legend in this game. That is asinine to suggest that, because for me, when you look at this, yes, get your players off the floor. We saw the situation with Caitlin Clark. However you feel, left or right about that, was it a little bit of a flop? Was it a little bit of an embellishment? I get it. But this is a part of college sports. It always has been. For what, 40 years, 50 years? You know what? Even in football, you're going to stop all the people from running on the field when Alabama loses to Florida A&M? No, you're not going to stop it. So figure out a way to protect your players. And again, we're talking about one situation, 2 situations over the course of how many court stormings. We get it. But let's not get old and get off my lawn, get a citation, let's arrest them all. Do we know what we're talking about when we say these things? Like, come on. To me, if you paid your tuition and you go and support your team and they're an underdog against a high-level Arizona, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, and you get the win, look, you deserve to storm the court. That's my opinion. Let's not arrest or give citations to 10,000 people. What are we talking about?
Wholly co-sign.
What are we talking
and
about?
agree with you on that one, Richard Jefferson.
Love you, Jay.
Let's not discipline Joy, but yes, love you, Jay.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Think I'm gonna try to wear I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA over here, feeling fun.